The Turin Shroud, also known as the Shroud of Turin, is a piece of linen cloth that bears the faint image of a man. Many believe this man is Jesus Christ, and the shroud is thought to be the burial cloth used after his crucifixion. It is kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy. The cloth is about 4.4 meters or 14 feet long and 1.1 meters or 3.5 feet wide. The faint image shows a front and back view of a man who appears to have wounds consistent with crucifixion, including marks on the wrists, feet, and side. For many Christians, the shroud is a deeply revered relic, believed to provide physical evidence of Jesus' death and resurrection. However, the Catholic Church does not officially declare the shroud to be authentic, leaving its interpretation to personal faith. In 1988, radiocarbon dating tests conducted by labs in Zurich, Oxford, and Tucson dated the shroud to the 13th to 14th century, suggesting it may be a medieval creation. Critics of the tests argue the sample tested may have been contaminated or from a repaired section of the cloth. The image is unique and not painted. Researchers suggest it may have been formed through oxidation or a yet unknown process. Bloodstains on the shroud are consistent with human blood, according to some studies. Skeptics consider the shroud to be a medieval forgery, possibly created during the height of relic veneration in the Middle Ages. Believers counter that no one has been able to replicate the shroud's image using medieval technology. The shroud is not on permanent display. It is shown to the public during special exhibitions, which attract millions of visitors. The Turin Shroud remains one of the most studied, debated, and mysterious relics in history. While its authenticity as Jesus' burial cloth is not definitively proven, its cultural and religious significance continues to inspire both faith and curiosity. According to Christian tradition, the shroud is believed to be the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. After his crucifixion, it is said that his body was wrapped in a linen cloth, as described in the Gospels of the New Testament. There is no direct mention of the shroud in historical records for the first several centuries after Christ's death, leading to uncertainty about its whereabouts during this period. Some theories suggest it was kept in secret by early Christians. Some researchers associate the shroud with the Mandelion, a relic believed to bear the miraculous image of Christ's face. The Mandelion was kept in the city of Edessa, which is modern-day Sanliurfa, Turkey. In 944 CE, the Mandelion was transferred to Constantinople, which is modern Istanbul, where it was revered as a holy relic. Some believe the Mandelion was folded in such a way that only Christ's face was visible, and it might have been the Turin Shroud. The shroud may have been part of the relic collection in Constantinople until the city was sacked during the Fourth Crusade in 1204. Crusaders looted many relics, and the shroud's fate during this time is, well, unclear. Some historians theorize that the shroud was taken to Western Europe by a knight or nobleman after the Crusades. The first documented appearance of the shroud occurred in the mid-1300s in Lire, France. In 1354, it was displayed by Geoffroy de Charny, a French knight. How he acquired it remains unknown. The local bishop, Pierre d'Arcy, wrote a letter to the Pope in 1389 claiming the shroud was a forgery created by an artist. In 1453, the shroud was acquired by the House of Savoy, a powerful royal family. It was kept in Chambéry, France until 1578, when it was moved to Turin, Italy, where it remains today. During its time in Chambéry, the shroud survived a fire in 1532, which left scorch marks and water stains that are still visible. In 1898, Secondo Pia, an Italian photographer, took the first photographs of the shroud. His negatives revealed a clearer, detailed image of the man on the cloth, sparking worldwide interest. In 1978, the Shroud of Turin research project, also known as STURP, conducted extensive tests, concluding that the image was not painted or drawn, but could not determine how it was formed. In 1988, radiocarbon dating tests dated the shroud to the 13th to 14th century, suggesting it was a medieval artifact. However, some scientists questioned the validity of these tests, arguing that contamination or repairs may have affected the results. The shroud was displayed during special occasions such as in the year 2000 for the Jubilee year and in 2010. Pope Francis viewed the shroud during its most recent public exhibition in 2015. Researchers continue to study the shroud using advanced techniques such as three-dimensional imaging spectroscopy and chemical analysis, but its origin and the method of image formation remain unexplained. The Catholic Church neither confirms nor denies the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin as the burial cloth of Jesus for several reasons, reflecting a balance between faith, science, and tradition. While the shroud has been studied extensively, there is no conclusive scientific evidence to prove that it dates back to the time of Jesus, or that it was used to wrap his body. Radiocarbon dating conducted in 1988 suggested a medieval origin, specifically the 13th to 14th century, although this has been disputed. The Church avoids making a definitive declaration without absolute certainty. The Church respects the role of science in investigating the shroud, but also acknowledges the limitations of current technology in resolving all questions about its origins. For millions of believers, the shroud is a powerful symbol of faith, whether or not it is proven to be the burial cloth of Christ. Declaring it either authentic or inauthentic might alienate some believers or diminish its spiritual value. By remaining neutral, the Church allows the faithful to focus on the shroud's spiritual significance rather than its scientific authenticity. The Church is cautious about making statements that could be misunderstood as endorsing relics as necessary for faith. Catholic doctrine teaches that faith in Jesus Christ does not depend on the authenticity of physical relics. Declaring the shroud to be the true burial cloth of Jesus could lead to undue emphasis on the relic itself rather than the teachings of Christ and the Gospel. The shroud's history before the 14th century is unclear, leaving room for speculation about its origins. Without an unbroken chain of evidence linking the shroud directly to Jesus' burial, the Church refrains from making an official declaration. The Church views the shroud as an aid for deepening faith and reflecting on the suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus. It emphasizes the shroud's ability to inspire devotion, repentance, and a personal connection to Christ, regardless of its historical authenticity. The Catholic Church often embraces mystery as a part of faith. By leaving the question of the shroud's authenticity open, the Church invites believers to explore their faith more deeply, contemplating the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus without needing absolute answers. The Church's position reflects a careful balance between faith and reason. By neither confirming nor denying the shroud's authenticity, the Church allows for continued scientific investigation, respects personal devotion, and emphasizes that the core of Christian faith lies in the gospel, not in relics. This neutral stance preserves the shroud's spiritual significance while leaving room for individual interpretation and ongoing exploration. The fact that the Shroud of Turin survived a fire is often cited by some believers as evidence of its authenticity. But this claim is based more on faith and interpretation than on concrete evidence. Here are the main points to consider. The shroud survived a significant fire in 1532 while it was housed in the Sainte-Chapelle in Chambéry, France. The fire caused substantial damage to the silver reliquary containing the shroud, and molten silver dripped onto the cloth, leaving burn marks. The shroud was saved by quick action, and the damaged areas were later repaired by the Poor Clare nuns. The distinctive scorch marks and water stains from this event are still visible on the cloth. For some believers, the fact that the shroud survived the fire is seen as miraculous or as divine intervention, reinforcing the idea that it is the authentic burial cloth of Jesus. This belief is based on the assumption that an object with such profound spiritual significance would be preserved by God. While the survival of the shroud is remarkable, it does not serve as definitive evidence that it is the original burial cloth of Jesus. The shroud's resilience could be attributed to the linen's durability and the quick actions of those who rescued it, rather than to supernatural causes. Other religious relics, artworks, and historical objects have also survived fires or natural disasters. Survival does not inherently confirm the authenticity or divine origin of an object. The shroud's survival, while extraordinary, is not unique enough to serve as proof of its authenticity. Scientists and historians view the fire damage as a historical event that adds to the shroud's mystery but does not validate its origins. The fire and subsequent repairs may complicate scientific studies of the cloth, as contamination from smoke, heat, and repairs could affect test results, such as radiocarbon dating. For many believers, the shroud's survival from the fire strengthens their faith in its authenticity. However, from a scientific perspective, the survival alone does not provide verifiable evidence that it is the original burial cloth of Jesus. While the survival of the shroud during the 1532 fire is remarkable and adds to its mystique, it cannot be taken as definitive proof that it is the original burial cloth of Jesus. The interpretation of this event often depends on personal faith, but scientific and historical evidence remains inconclusive. The shroud's value, regardless of its authenticity, lies in its ability to inspire faith and devotion.